Dreams feel intensely personal. Yet night after night, millions of people end up in the same plots. Late for an exam, losing their teeth, being chased, falling or waking up inside another dream. The details change, but the patterns repeat. That does not make dreams secret codes. The sleeping mind is working with familiar material, memory, emotion, body sensations, social concerns, and expectation, and turning it into a temporary world. Everyday and replay dreams. A lot of dreams are surprisingly ordinary. You go to work, buy groceries, answer a message, clean a room, or talk with someone you know. Nothing feels strange until you wake up and realize the store was inside your childhood school, and your manager had your neighbor's face. Dreams often borrow pieces from recent life, but they usually don't replay the day exactly. They mix moments from different times and places. A task from yesterday might appear in a house you lived in 10 years ago, with a person you haven't seen since school. This is sometimes described as waking experience being incorporated into dreams. Memory supplies the pieces, but the dream rearranges them. The same thing can happen after you spend hours repeating one activity. You study all evening, play the same game, drive a long route, practice music, or learn a physical routine. Then the activity keeps going after you fall asleep. It doesn't mean the task has taken over your subconscious. It may simply be easy for the sleeping mind to reuse material that was recently active. Stress test and being late dreams. You miss a flight, you arrive after the doors close, you lose an important document. Everyone somehow knew about the deadline, except you. Then there's the classic version. You're back at school, facing an exam for a class you never attended. Apparently, adulthood does not cancel imaginary homework. These dreams share the same basic structure. Something matters, time is running out, and you're not ready. The waking problem doesn't have to match the dream literally. Pressure at work can turn into an exam. Relationship uncertainty can become a missing passport. The dream is borrowing a familiar situation that already carries the feeling of being evaluated or unprepared. It usually isn't predicting failure. It's using an old model of what failure feels like. Nightmares. Nightmares are defined more by emotional force than by one specific plot. They may involve monsters, attacks, disasters, injuries, death, disgust, or simply the feeling that something terrible is nearby. A nightmare can wake you before the story even makes sense. 5 minutes later, the creature sounds ridiculous, but your body is still voting that it was real. Occasional nightmares can happen during stress, illness, disrupted sleep, emotional strain, or sometimes for no obvious reason. One bad dream does not prove hidden trauma, and it does not automatically mean there is a disorder. The practical question is how often it happens and how much it affects daily life. If nightmares repeatedly interrupt sleep, create strong distress during the day, or make someone afraid to go to bed, professional support may be useful. That matters more than trying to decide whether the monster represented your boss. Recurring dreams. Recurring dreams repeat the same place, problem, action, or emotional ending over time. The details may change, but the central situation keeps returning. The train is always leaving. The building never has an exit. The person disappears again. The task can never be completed. One possible reason is that the waking concern connected to the dream is still easy to trigger. The mind has found a familiar nighttime script for a familiar feeling. But repetition does not automatically reveal a buried secret. Ongoing stress, repeated life situations, habits of thought, and memory can all play a role. Once a dream becomes memorable, later versions are also easier to notice. The useful questions are not only why does it repeat, but also when does it return? What stays the same? What changes? Chase and escape dreams. You run from a stranger, an animal, a machine, or something you never fully see. The distance refuses to increase. Doors jam, hallways stretch, your legs move with the urgency of a sprint and the performance of wet cardboard. People often say, chase dreams mean you're avoiding something. That can fit in some cases, but it isn't a universal rule. A dream can build a threat scene from general stress, emotional pressure, physical discomfort, rapid breathing, or fragments of frightening memory. Once the dream creates the goal of escape, every new obstacle can strengthen the same conflict. The lock fails, Your voice disappears, the hallway gets longer. One possible way to understand the mismatch is that dreamed movement is not being checked against the full stream of feedback you rely on while awake. That may be why effort, speed, and distance can separate. You run harder, but the dream still does not move you any farther. Closely related dreams involve being trapped, unable to shout, or unable to move properly. These should not automatically be confused with sleep paralysis, which happens around falling asleep or waking up. Falling dreams. Falling dreams often begin with one small mistake. A stair disappears. A chair tips backward. The ground gives way. Sometimes, the dream ends with a sudden physical jolt near the beginning of sleep. That twitch is commonly called a hypnic jerk. A brief falling image may form around the sensation, but not every falling dream comes from a hypnic jerk. Longer falling scenes can happen later in sleep and may be influenced by fear, body sensations, or the dream's unstable sense of space and movement. People often connect falling with loss of control, and that may fit the situation. Still, falling does not need a complicated symbolic meaning to feel urgent. Losing support is already a basic physical threat. Flying dreams. Flying dreams use dream motion in the opposite direction. Sometimes you rise above rooftops and move wherever you want. Other times you flap, bounce, drift sideways, or discover that flying only works while making a movement you would never demonstrate after breakfast. Dream research does not give us one settled explanation for why flying appears so often. The dream can make impossible movement feel normal without explaining why that particular theme appeared that night. The clearest distinction is usually control. When movement responds to you, flying can feel playful or freeing. When control breaks down, it becomes drifting, crashing, or being unable to land. So the useful question is not only whether you flew, it is whether the dream allowed you to direct the movement. Teeth falling out dreams. One tooth feels loose. Then another starts moving. A few seconds later, you're holding several teeth while trying to speak normally and wondering why no one else seems appropriately alarmed. Teeth dreams are often linked with anxiety, appearance, aging, communication, or loss of control. Those ideas may fit some people, but no single interpretation has been established. There is also some evidence that physical sensations may sometimes enter the dream. One study found an association between dental-themed dreams and tension or discomfort in the teeth, gums, or jaw after waking. That does not mean jaw tension explains every teeth dream. It only suggests that a small body sensation can sometimes become part of a much larger dream scene. Naked and embarrassment dreams. You're naked in public, you're badly dressed, you're standing on stage without knowing your lines. Everyone else looks prepared and fully informed. You alone have somehow missed a meeting about the basic rules of reality. These dreams often center on social evaluation. Humans pay close attention to belonging, status, reputation, and the possibility of embarrassment. A dream can turn those private concerns into something instantly visible, but the emotion still matters more than the costume. One person feels intense shame. Another notices they're naked and calmly continues shopping. The scene may look similar, but the experience is not. The dream's emotional tone usually tells you more than the image by itself. Lost and out-of-control dreams. The goal should be simple. Find the classroom, get home, reach the hotel room, drive to the appointment. But the building keeps changing. The map stops making sense. The road connects to the wrong place. The car responds to every control except the one you need. Dream spaces do not have to preserve a stable map. A useful way to picture this is that the dream does not need to maintain a complete environment in the background. It only needs enough of the scene to support what is happening now. That picture fits the way dream spaces can change direction, merge places, or lose details once attention moves elsewhere. Vehicle dreams add another layer. Failed control. The brakes stop working. The steering wheel disappears. You realize you are driving from the back seat. The dream keeps the intention but removes the dependable tools for carrying it out. That is why these dreams feel less like ordinary confusion and more like being denied every normal way to fix it. Dreams about exes and people from the past. An ex-partner, old friend, former classmate, or someone you haven't thought about in years suddenly appears in a dream. You wake up wondering why that specific person received a guest appearance. Dreaming about someone does not automatically mean you secretly want them back. A smell, place, argument, mood, or current relationship pattern may activate connected memories. Memory works through association, not through perfectly sealed chronological folders. The person may matter directly. They may represent a period of your life, or the mind may simply borrow a familiar face for a new emotional situation. Sometimes it needs an actor who already knows the role. Death, grief, and loss dreams. These dreams can feel especially real. Someone who died appears alive and ordinary again. A loved one disappears without explanation. You dream that someone has died, or that everyone knows they are gone except you. Waking can bring relief, grief, or both within the same few seconds. When someone dies, attachment and memory do not disappear. Their voice, movements, habits, and place in daily life remain available to the mind. Sleep can combine those memories into an encounter that feels immediate. Some people understand these dreams spiritually and call them visitations. Science cannot determine that a dream is an actual visit. What it can say is that the emotional experience is real, and that dreams can preserve a sense of someone's presence long after waking life has changed. Sexual and relationship dreams. Sexual and relationship dreams are not signed confessions. They may involve a partner, stranger, friend, celebrity, former lover, or someone the waking self would never choose. Other dreams focus less on sex and more on intimacy, rejection, jealousy, betrayal, or falling in love with someone who does not exist outside the dream. Dream content can draw from physical arousal during sleep, memory, curiosity, closeness, conflict, social concerns, and unlikely combinations of familiar people. Because memory is associative, the person in the dream may be linked to the emotion, role, setting, or period of life the dream is currently using, even when the waking mind would never connect them on purpose. The presence of a person does not prove a hidden plan. A betrayal dream does not prove betrayal is happening. The dream may reflect a real concern, or it may simply be a dramatic social scenario built from several active fragments at once. Dream content and waking intention are not the same thing. So far, these dreams have mostly been defined by what happens in them. The next two are defined by something stranger, what you believe about reality while the dream is still happening. Lucid dreams. A lucid dream begins when you realize you are dreaming while the dream is still happening. Sometimes the recognition is quiet. A room looks wrong, a clock refuses to behave, or you suddenly remember that you went to sleep. Other times, the realization arrives all at once. None of this is real, and somehow you are still inside it. Researchers have verified lucid dreams during REM sleep by asking trained dreamers to signal with predetermined eye movements. That gives the dreamer a rare position, aware of the dream while still participating in it. But awareness and control are separate. Knowing you are dreaming does not guarantee that you can fly, change the setting, remove a threat, or convince a locked door to cooperate. Lucid dreams may also feel unusually vivid, but vividness is not the same as lucidity. A dream can feel intensely real without you recognizing it as a dream, and a lucid dream can be unstable, dim, or difficult to control. False awakenings and dreams within dreams. A false awakening happens when you dream that sleep has ended. You open your eyes, check the time, get out of bed, and begin your normal routine. Then you wake again. The first awakening can feel completely convincing because the dream borrows a familiar room, familiar objects, and a routine your mind already knows well. The alarm is in the right place. The light looks normal. You may even remember the dream you think you just woke from. Sometimes, the sequence repeats, creating what people call a dream within a dream. Each new awakening seems to confirm that the previous level was the dream, and this one must finally be real. False awakenings may happen near lucid dreams, but the key difference is awareness. In a lucid dream, you know you are dreaming. In a false awakening, the dream succeeds by convincing you that you are awake. The exact brain processes behind false awakenings are still not fully understood. It is safer to describe them as realistic dreams of waking than as one completely explained sleep transition. The final type changes the question again. It is defined not by what you believed during the dream, but by what happens after you wake up. Dreams that seem to predict the future. You dream about a person, place, accident, or conversation. Days or months later, something strangely similar happens. The match can feel too precise to be random. There is no strong evidence that ordinary dreams reliably predict future events. But probability and memory can still create coincidences that feel astonishing. People have many dreams and forget most of them. The rare dream that later resembles a real event stands out, while the hundreds that matched nothing disappear from attention. After the event, the definition of a match may also become more flexible, and memory for the original dream can shift toward what actually happened. Sometimes the connection is simpler. A dream may reflect concerns, expectations, or small clues already noticed during waking life. If the expected event later occurs, the dream can feel prophetic even though the mind was working with information it already had. None of this makes the experience emotionally meaningless. It only separates "this coincidence felt extraordinary" from "this proves the dream saw the future." Across all of these dreams, the shared pattern is only a starting point. What matters most is what was happening in that particular dream, and what may have contributed to it. The mind does not stop being personal when sleep begins. It just becomes much less interested in explaining its editing choices.